Does everybody understand my English, or do I have to talk slower? No? Okay. Containers are not only... ja, rechtdoor, dus de rechterbaan. Dat gaan we denk ik zien. Containers are not only transported by ship or by truck, but also by train. And you see here on the right hand side the rail service center, from which in a scheduled way 40 shuttle trains depart each day into Europe. Milano, Madrid, Nice, Moscow, and so on and so on. Irrespective whether these trains are fully loaded, each day at 5 o'clock in the afternoon the train to Milano departs. And then you know exactly when your container will arrive. And formerly there were a lot of transfer places, and it took sometimes more than a week, and now you know that within 24 hours your container is in Milano.
Bij de Shell zijn?
Ja. Ja, Shell ging op 60 jaar.
Ja, maar
niet op 60. Dus ik ben nog relatief jong.
Hier gezeten bij de Shell nog veel
Ik leef over de hele wereld, maar de laatste 3 jaar hier wel is. Vandaar dat je ook die Rotterdamse haven een beetje... We now drive bit downwards into the so-called District Park. District Park is a collection of companies who will provide storage to clients, cold storage, freezing conditions, but also let's say fitness stuff. It's all in these grey and here on the left hand side concrete boxes. You see the docks where the trucks arrive, and you see it here on the left hand side. Also some added value. An example, a container with handies arrives from China. The manual is printed in the Netherlands, the boxes are made in France, and that's coming here together and repacked into the, let's say, the nice offers you can buy at your handy store. In front of us, the first container terminal opened in 1967 here in Rotterdam, and The first ship arrived here with the huge number of 270 containers. Well, nowadays we talk about container vessels which can carry more than 15,000. But again, calculated back to 20 feet. Well, you probably know that the white containers here on the right hand side are meant to transport food or other products which have to stay cool or below freezing point. They all connected with electrical stations, and these white containers are called reefers, R-E-E-F-E-R-S. So maybe your barbecue meat for next summer is already stored here. So on the right hand side we see the refinery of Shell, the biggest refinery in Europe. This refinery processes about 20 million tons of crude a year. That's a very large crude carrier once 3 to 4 days. Well, refining as oil, the first step is quite simple. You just heat the oil in these silver towers you see, columns as they are called, and then the same as you boil an egg at home. When halfway the process you lift the lid from and then you see the condensated water under the lid. Well, in these columns there are lids with holes, and the vapor goes through, and the higher in the tower the stuff condenses, the lighter the product is. So on top of the columns is gas, then benzene, gas, the kerosene, and then about 45% remains, which is pumped to the other side of the site, and it's cracked there. Cracking means cutting the carbon atoms into small pieces and glue hydrogen to it and then you get the light products again. You also see a flame over the refinery there, that's called a flare, and the flare is the safety system. If pressure goes up too high, you have there your relief valve. The big M here, the yellow M on the left hand side, is the M of main port Rotterdam. You find it anywhere in the world, and that there is always a McDonald's is just coincidence. We now drive under the river Old Maas into the Botlek area. That's the first extension of the Rotterdam harbour in the direction of the North Sea after the Second World War. It was an agricultural area here, but nowadays it's all industry, chemical industry, oil refinery of Exxon you'll find on the right hand side. Aluchemie here, and also Shin-Etsu, that's a company who makes hard plastic for sewers, for instance. Exxon refinery here on the right hand side. The railway here on the right hand side is the former harbour railway, but it's now electrified, and it's the beginning of the so-called Betuwe route. That's the direct freight railway into Germany. The current is 25,000 volt, so that's quite a lot, but then you need less locomotives to pull the heavy coal and iron ore trains. Here comes the sun. On the left hand side, Air Products, and the name says exactly what this company does. It makes products out of air. Air consists of various gases, hydrogen, nitrogen and oxygen, and by cooling down the air you get different freezing points where the different gases condensate, and so you can separate it. Oxygen and nitrogen is used here in the chemical industry, and other gases in hospitals or for other purposes. On the left here, a huge parking place. There's room for 40,000 cars, and this is the car terminal where the Asian brand new cars arrive from Thailand, Japan. They're brought here by car carriers, ugly ships, floating garages, which can contain about 5,000 to 6,000 new cars. And in fact they travel around the world, because here in Europe they pick up European cars for transportation back to the United States and via Panama Canal to back to Japan and Korea. now enter the so-called Europort area, the year 60 of the previous century extension of the Rotterdam harbour. There's again a lot of industry, storage here on the right hand side, but on the left hand side there is a big recreational area called Briels Lake, and there you can hike, camp, sail, golf, bicycling. But on the right hand side the industry with the tanks who contain fluids. Tanks here on the right hand side have domes. That's for extra protection against water. For instance, it's absolutely deadly that kerosene, which is used for jet airplanes, contains water. You can imagine what happens at 10 kilometers high, minus 50 degrees centigrade. The water will freeze and the engines will stop. That's why from the refinery till it's loaded into the planes, the kerosene is checked 25 times on water content. If you look at the blue traffic signs here, you also see a white square in which havens followed by numbers are shown. That's a very good system because every company in this area has its harbor number, and that's easy for drivers. Just follow the signs and you arrive exactly at the gate of the company where you have to go. Again, tank storage here on the right hand side, and you see that the tanks are surrounded by grass dikes, and those dikes are there if such a tank collapses, the fluid will stay within the dikes. There's only one problem, and that's rabbits, and you know rabbits like two things very well, and let's stick to the second one. They like digging, and that means that well, those walls become weaker and weaker, and that's why they're shoot around Christmas time. And grass mowing is done by sheep. That's not so expensive.
Every haven does have an access to the so it's a port.
Sorry?
Every number of the haven that's access to the port.
Yeah, that's right. So it's we now go to harbor number 8200. If you just follow the signs, you arrive there. So you don't have to ask to a street name or something like that. It's not a Rotterdam invention, it's an invention by the Belgians.
Okay.
The harbor numbers, it's not a Rotterdam invention, but Well, the Belgians under my guests will appreciate it. It's first invented in Antwerp. And the last of the 4 refineries here in front, it's the refinery of BP, British Petroleum.
How is the protection against stormy weather at high tide?
Well, the question is how is the protection against stormy weather. You will extensively see that in Futureland, where the extension of the Netherlands in the direction of London takes place. We now drive to the former bottom of the sea, because till 1970 it was sea here, and then the Maasvlakte 1 was created, and the sand was coming out of a river mouth here on the left, which is now at certain spots more than 40 meters deep. So there are a lot of scuba diving schools here now. And as the Maasvlakte 1 is now completely occupied by industry, there was a need to create Maasvlakte 2, which you will see in the exhibition in Futureland. On the right hand side, a strange collection of buildings. This is a risk, and this is the area where fire brigades from all over Europe do some exercises in firefighting and rescue people. Right on the other side of the harbor is the coal and iron ore terminal of IMO. From here, coal from all over the world and the iron ore mainly from Brazil arrives, and 90% is transported by barge or train directly into Germany for the blast furnaces. 10% of the coal is used here in the coal power plant of E.ON, which we will see in 5 minutes. The mountains here on the left hand side of the bus is chemical waste, which is stored there in a safe manner, and the wind turbines over there with a dike, that is a basin where contaminated sludge is stored. We thought it would be full in 2010, but we now think that we can do till the end of this century, because there is a lot of better environmental measures taken downstream of the River Rhine. So the contaminated sludge has become far less than expected. storage of Reebok in the district center here again. Here the left-hand shoes coming from Brazil are paired with the right-hand shoes coming from China. And the white building close to Boer contains strategic storage, namely French fries. Customs building here on the left hand side with a kind of garage in which the customs can scan containers if they are suspected, so that you by means of beams you can see inside the container if it contains the thing what's on the papers or not. So here a lot of illegal stuff is discovered. This is the power plant of E.ON here on the right hand side of the bus. Dadelijk gewoon wegdoen. Daar waar jullie witte busjes staan, zie je?
I just have a question. Is this an EcoBus or is it a normal bus?
Sorry?
Is this an EcoBus?
This bus?
Yeah.
Of dit een ecobus is?
Euro 5.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, I have to report now at security with a list of your names, and well, just hope that they will give us access